Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. My name is Christina. Today I thought that I would share some first impressions as well as a couple of minor reviews on makeup that I've been testing. Starting with something I've been testing out for a couple of weeks now. It's actually on my forehead. I don't know if you guys can see this on camera because it's almost transparent on my forehead, but it's the brand new Glow Recipe PDRN toner pads. So they sent me the PDRN, the vitamin C, and then the exfoliation pads. And this one I just wanted to use to prep my skin for makeup. I love and hate this packaging. Let me explain to you. I really love the way that they have the tweezers stored. They're kind of like in this little mold and it sits right there on top, but the pads are almost so thin that they can't hold their own. They can't stay in a stack inside of this jar. I don't know if maybe the jar is just way too large and it causes the toner pads to slip and slide in there. And I'm not quite sure if it's that and a mixture of like how thin the pads are, but it's just kind of a mess in there. They're kind of just like piled in there. So it's a little difficult to get one piece at a time, even with the tweezers. But I do really think it's so cool how thin they got these toner pads. They're definitely the thinnest ones that I have in this form. And then as you wear them, as they kind of dry out and the serum absorbs and like dissipates, the cotton becomes a little bit more white. And then at that point, I usually take it off. But until then, it looks pretty much undetectable, which I think is really, really fun. Another thing that I've been testing out that's not makeup, but I do want to include it, this Fenty Skin Body Milk. This is the Vanilla Dream Butta Drop Hydrating Body Milk, and this smells so good, you guys. Oh my goodness. I really like the body milks because I feel like they are very easy to blend into the skin. They absorb really well and they give me a lot of hydration. It's not going to last as long as the body oil, the body butter. Oh, it smells so good. It's like a cinnamony vanilla, but it's not too cinnamon. It's more vanilla forward with a little bit of spiciness to it. And I love this before bed. If I can't be fussed with like a body butter and letting it dry on my skin or a body oil, the body milk is the way to go for me. And I mainly wanted to mention this because I think that Fenty is having a 30% off site-wide sale right now. So I'm going to link it down below. I'm going to link everything down below for you guys in the YouTube shopping tab as well as in the description box. I'm going to go ahead and take this off so we can moisturize the skin. So Morphe sent over some of their brow products. They sent the Nano Brow, which you guys know I've talked about this previously, and I've emptied one of these pencils, and then the Micro Brow, which I have not used. Wait, that's a lie. I used to use this all the time. It looks like they repackaged it. Oh, that's exciting. And the Nano Brow ran out so fast on me, you guys. I'm pretty sure I used it up in like two and a half weeks or something like that, but I really liked it, which was unfortunate. It's nice and creamy and the color is perfect for my brows without making them too dark. I haven't done the math comparing the Nano with the Kosas Brow Pop Nano that I get. I don't know which one ends up being cheaper based on how much is in there. I should probably do that math. I remember my shade was Cold Brew, so we're gonna use that today. I'm gonna use a touch of my Denasmyrix Water Powder Serum just on the places where I typically get more oily. This is in my project pan, so I'm trying to use this every chance that I get. So the white one is the Nano, and then the black one is gonna be the Micro. And as you can see, there's a pretty obvious difference in the sizes of these. What I liked about this is, although it is very skinny, it only like snapped off maybe once, which I think is pretty impressive for a very fine tip eyebrow pencil. Okay, so that's one brow done. That is before. Just wanted to add a little bit of subtle definition here. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill in the other brow. Ugh, I just love the effect of this. I love how it's so subtle. Like you can go super slowly and fill in your brows, but I do worry about how quickly I went through this. I mean, if I'm going through this every 2 or so weeks, that's $22 in a month. I don't know. I love it, but then I'm also like, is it worth it? I do have a lot of stuff from Morphe, by the way. They put me on their PR list. Very exciting because they've had a lot of launches that I was curious about prior. So I do have a couple of eyeshadow palettes here, but unfortunately mine came in broken, but I'm hoping that we can still use them in this video. So I do have the Rich Glitch eyeshadow palette. This one I don't believe is new, but they did send me the trios in the metallic collection. All of them are broken. Ooh, it's coming out. This one's not broken too badly, but you guys know cool tone eyeshadows are not my my first pick. They're not my go-to. And then lastly, the one I was most excited for is Champagne on Tap. Of course, it's going to be the warm neutrals here. Look at her, so sad and broken. I don't know, I feel like I can still use them. I just have to be very, very, very careful. So I think I'm going to do it. So to prime the lids, I actually purchased these Mob Beauty liquid eyeshadows. I have the shades Linen and Dusty Rose. I thought Dusty Rose would be a beautiful one and done eyeshadow when I'm just looking for some like a wash of color. And Linen I planned on using as like an eyeshadow base. So that's the one that we're going to use today. They're supposed to be budge proof, waterproof, smudge proof, crease proof, all of the proof things that most companies do claim. But I do find that this stays put, and it's interesting because this does come off very sheer and it's almost hydrating without being sticky. It's such an interesting formula. I still don't know how I feel about it though, because it goes on extremely sheer on me. Maybe I'm not putting on a lot. I've only used it twice now. They wear well through the day, but as the day progresses, I've kind of noticed that at least when I wear Dusty Rose as a one and done, it almost fades on the eyelids. Like it kind of disappears. Maybe I'm not using enough product. See, that kind of just melts into the eyelid. It's a beautiful, beautiful base shade. They were talking about how some liquid eyeshadows can end up looking really dry and crepey, which I agree. And this does not look dry at all on the eyes, which is kind of crazy how smooth this looks. It doesn't really feel like anything on the eyelids. It's not sticky. It's not dry. It doesn't feel like anything, which makes me think like, is it even on there? But it is. If ever there was a liquid eyeshadow that was just seamless, this feels like it's very seamless. All right, I'm gonna try to use this Morphe eyeshadow palette. I'm sure it's fine. All right, so I tried to put that Morphe Trio palette on, and honestly, you guys, it just wasn't going on well. I don't know if it was because the palette that I received was broken, and maybe because of that, it messed with the formula, but that middle marbled shade wasn't as pigmented as I anticipated it to be, and because of that, it was kind of causing that darker shade to sort of take over the whole look. It became very muddy very quickly. I also tried to use these dual-sided eyeshadows from Morphe. It's the eyeshadow crayon and liquid eyeshadow, and the liquid side of this seemed very nice. The crayon I'm not entirely sure about just yet. I will insert some b-roll here for you guys so you can see me use these on their own, so we can kind of get an idea of how these do. I don't know, the whole look was just starting to look too muddy, and I had a feeling that it would continue going down that route, so I went ahead and I removed it, and we're going to use this palette from Morphe instead. This is one of their 6-pan palettes in the shade Rich Glitch. So I have a couple of complexion products that I want to talk to you guys about. I've been very lightly testing these out, so I thought that we would kind of continue testing them and I would show you guys sort of what's going on camera. So I have 2 skin tint products, the Bareminerals Skin Tint Complexion Stick, and then this Laura Mercier Tinted Skin Tint Balm. I have the shade number 3. This is interesting. So it's a powder to balm, very similar in concept to the Danessa Myricks one, except I find that they're very different. I think the Danessa Myricks one definitely is a little drier in texture once it dries down, while this is going to be more of a skin tint. The Danessa Myricks one has more coverage and a little bit more body to it, while this kind of feels like once you touch it, it sort of melts down before it dries into the skin, if that makes sense. Like right now, as I'm rubbing my fingers together, immediately it feels like a powder. It's very, very interesting. And then the Bareminerals Skin Tint Complexion Stick. I have this in the shade 06 Ginger, and this one I think is going to be a very true skin tint. It is very hydrating on the skin with, I would say, a light medium coverage. I think it's extremely similar to the Complexion Rescue skin tint that they have in their line currently, except I feel like this may have slightly more pigmentation, and I do think that this one does dry down better than that one. However, it doesn't completely dry down. It's definitely going to be a dewy skin tint. I do think that this one is going to be more geared towards those that are looking for a little less coverage, or if you want the majority of your coverage to come from something like, say, like your concealer. This will sort of even out your skin tone before going in with like your concealer and stuff like that. I have been liking something a little bit more on the mattifying side, so I'm going to continue testing this Laura Mercier one, and they did send it over with this triangle brush, which I have really been liking. It says it's the Real Flawless Foundation brush, and I have been really packing it on there because I'm trying to get as much coverage as possible. So I'll show you guys with the brush. As you can see, just stamping it on there, it kind of covers up really well. But all things considered, I still have to sort of buff it into the skin. But look at that. It's such a natural coverage finish. It seems like it gets rid of any discoloration, uneven skin tone, but you can still see my natural freckling and sunspots and stuff. I'm gonna try to cover that pimple right there. Kind of hurts. Here, use my finger. Here is nothing on this side of my face, and then here it is with this Laura Mercier Skin Balm. This would be a really good way to kind of just fake very nice skin. I do think if you have normal or even dry skin, you can get away without powdering this. However, for myself, I have still been powdering it down. You can still see a lot of redness and stuff here, but I typically will depend on my concealer to take care of that anyways. We'll let that dry down on this side, and then I want to try putting this on with my fingers. I want to see if there's any difference. So I got a good amount on there, and we're just gonna sort of pack it on. I love this color though. I think it works really well for me, and they don't have a lot of shades, but I think that's because this is going to be more of a sheer coverage. So it's supposed to be one of those skin tints that flexes for a variety of different complexions. I did try out the shade 2, and I could also wear that one. I feel like I'm using a lot more product going in with my fingers. Oh, it's pilling a little bit. I think it's pilling up that moisturizer. Usually when that happens for me though, it's the primer, not really the complexion product I'm putting on top of it. Wow. Okay, that's with my fingers, and I barely blended that in, but I'm not seeing any streaks unless I'm just missing it. So here it is applied with my fingers, and then here it is applied with a brush. I actually feel like I got a little bit more coverage on the tops of my cheeks with my finger than I did with the brush. I think that the brush kind of blended everything out a little bit more, and it doesn't feel greasy, which is kind of what I was nervous about because the texture almost reminds me of the Makeup by Mario Shaping bronzer bombs, you know, the one that's also in a pan like this, but those are way more greasy. My initial thought was, oh, this is going to be a greasy product, but it really is not. I will say though, I don't think there's a lot of product in here, so if you're really packing this on, I feel like I kind of packed it on. If you're doing that every single time you're applying it, I can't say for certain that this is going to last you a long time. I feel like you may go through this product quite quickly, but take that with a grain of salt because I find a lot of makeup products take me a really long time to finish up. So even though it doesn't seem like a lot of product, maybe it'll last me. I'm not quite sure though. Every time I've used this, I've understood it a little bit more each time, and I feel like this looks great. A little bit tapping it on in layers does go a long way because each layer will dry down. This doesn't click close though. It feels like it should, but it just magnetizes closed. Now let's talk about a couple concealers that recently released. I have two right here, the Patrick Ta concealer and the Charlotte Tilbury concealer. This one was sent to me, this one I purchased. Let's talk about the Patrick Ta concealer first. I have this in the shade Medium Golden Neutral 1, and I will say that their marketing photos seem to look a bit darker or warmer than they actually are, because this one seemed like it was going to be more on the tan side of things, but as you can see, it's definitely, in my opinion, going to be more of a brightening concealer on myself. I think that if I was using this as a base all over, I could kind of make it work that way. But it's also interesting because as I kind of blend it out, it seems to oxidize a little bit, the dry down makes it oxidize a little, and it has a scent to it. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if it's on purpose, but it smells a little bit like a warm sugar scent, unless that's just chemicals and I'm going crazy. They recommend that you let this dry down, so that's what we're gonna do. I've only used this maybe twice now. It came with a brush, but I can't find it, so I'm just gonna use this other Patrick Ta brush. It's for highlight, but this side is more like a paw brush. And as you can see, as it sat on the skin, I feel like it definitely warmed up a little bit. Yeah, this definitely is a concealer that I feel like needs the dry down time in order to preserve that coverage. To me, I would say that this is a true medium coverage concealer. I do think that this looks very natural when concealers are this texture and this finish. It's a lot easier to use it, like it's more of a flex concealer all over the face versus just having to use it in one area because it's too dry or it's too dewy, you know? And I'm just going in with that same Laura Mercier brush just to buff out. Okay, and then I'm gonna go on top of that with the Charlotte Tilbury one in the shade 6.5 medium. The reason I'm going over top of that is because I do find that this one is going to have a lot more coverage. I would say this is more of a medium high coverage. I do like this shade, but again, I think that this is more of a brighter shade. I did test out a couple when I was in Ulta trying to see which one would be the best for me. And this one looked like it would be the best in terms of matching. But then when I got it home and I tested it, I was like, oh, that's a lot brighter than what I anticipated. But the other shades that I was testing, they were too peachy toned and then they were too warm. Like this one definitely was going to be the most neutral one that was still going to work for my skin tone. So it's not a perfect match, unfortunately, but I do think that I can make it work. As you see here, it's definitely going to be a brighter shade. So I can use it to sculpt out and I can use it to brighten under the eyes. As you can see here, as a brightening concealer, it looks really, really beautiful. And I think that the undertone is perfect. If there was a shade that was a neutral shade between this one and the next neutral shade up, it would be the perfect shade for me. And then I'm going to do the same thing with that Laura Mercier brush and just blend it a little bit more. I really like the shape of this brush. It really lets you get in to those edges. All right, so here's what the complexion is looking like so far. I think it looks really, really nice. I love that combination. I am looking a bit more dewy, but we will powder that down. I don't have a powder to test out today, but I will end up powdering it down. But before we do that, I want to try this. I have this Smashbox Precision Contour Stick. I didn't know that they came out with this, but they sent this over to me. And this is in the shade medium. So let's see what this looks like. I think that these more pinpoint contour sticks have been really popular. This almost looks like an eyeshadow stick. Oh, but it definitely has some hydration to it. It looks very warm. We'll see how that is. So with a lot of these contours that are more precision sticks, I've just been going in straight on the face. So let's do that. It's a very subtle contour. I find that's kind of the case with these types of contour sticks, like the little micro sticks. Oh, but I think it's working pretty nicely. I've been kind of contouring the whole side of my cheek because I feel like it makes my more round face a little bit more slim. Typically, I like to match my, cheek products with the tone of my eyeshadow, but this is definitely more warm than the eyeshadows. Kind of the nature of when you're just testing out a bunch of different products at the same time. I can definitely go in more liberally with this. Let me just cut through here a little bit just to see what we can get out of this. Oh, do you see that? It is quite easy to blend. It does have some creaminess to it, but I'm not mad at it because it's still giving me some good pigmentation. It's not the most pigmented, something like the House Labs contour stick. That one, at first I was like, there's not enough pigment, but now I love it because it's such an easy contour to build up and it's so difficult to overdo it. Now, granted, this one is a bit warmer. I would almost say that I could use this as a bronzer and not just a contour stick. And if I did use it as a bronzer, it would take forever because it's such a small little stick. It looks exactly like an eyeshadow stick. So to each their own. I mean, if you like something more pinpointed, more detailed, you could definitely do that. Something here is smearing a little. I think it might be the Patrick Ta concealer, but it's looking like it's laying a little funny on the skin, like it's not absorbing properly. And then I want to use this on the nose. I'm just gonna draw this down the nose and see what this looks like. At least the way that it's looking with this eyeshadow, it's looking a little bit warm to be a nose contour. It's not terrible, but definitely not the best. But once we put powder on it, I'm sure it'll tone it down a little. But aside from that, I think this looks so good on the cheeks. I have these Morphe again. I know there's a lot of Morphe, you guys, but I have these cheek trios. These kind of reflect what's inside, but we have the shade After Party, and all of these are going to be 2 creams. One is going to be a matte cream and then a satin cream type of thing here, and then a powder. Then we have the shade Blind Date, pretty bright pinks, but this one actually looks very, very wearable. And then lastly, we have the shade Yacht Day. So this one is going to be more terracotta tones, a bit warmer. So we're gonna skip on this one today. I actually feel like this one would work really well. Are the eyes too purple? Let's try it. Let's go in first with the creams. I always like going in with creams first. I'm going in with that top shade right there. It's pretty. It's a little bit more sheer. It feels like it's putting on more hydration than pigment. Same thing goes with the swatch on the finger. So definitely we'll want to set this down because it is more of that tacky, kind of balmy finish. Tapping is definitely the way to go with this. It's a little bit more intense, but again, I'm gonna powder the face so it'll tone it down a bit. I do have these new Milani mascaras. They're massive. Like, look at this in comparison to this mascara. It's so big. These are the new Fan Club Fanning mascaras. I'm gonna try the black, and I did use My Hair and Make mascara just because I always use this whenever I wear any mascara. It's my baseline. I know that's not necessarily perfect for an actual like first impression, but I'm going to assume that this is going to droop on my eyes because every single mascara droops on my eyes if I do not wear a waterproof or Asian mascara. But I did want to try to make sure that this worked for me the best it can. It's kind of a large curve here, like a very emphasized curve, but let's see how this looks. Kind of scared that this part's gonna poke my eyeball, but so far it's pretty good. Oh, it looks pretty. It's more of a delicate mascara. I was kind of thinking because this brush is so intense that it was going to be a little bit more clumpy, a little bit more inky, I guess, but it's looking very subtle. I'm gonna let that coat dry and then I'm gonna go in with another coat. Before we do that, I'm just gonna go and powder my face and then I'll be right back. All right, so I just powdered my face. I also added another layer of that Fan mascara and I think it looks really good. It gives great definition, slightly more length, and it's not drooping with my usual routine, so I'm very pleased with that. It is a little bit difficult to use this wand on the bottom lashes. I felt like the curve, like the inside, like I had mentioned, was gonna poke my eye, so I did have to turn it to the other side and just use it that way. So the next thing that I have are these Saie baked bronzers, and it's the same compact as the baked blushes, you guys, so if you have trouble opening those, you might have some trouble opening these as well. So I just use the other end of my tweezers. I have the shade Amalfi and I have the shade Napoli. I've used this quite a few times now and I really like the texture. It does not have a lot of kick up like something like the new Milani baked bronzers have. It's somewhere in between the CoverGirl one and the Milani one in terms of kick up, but the shades are just a little bit off for me. Amalfi I think would be perfect if it was like half a step deeper. I think it works for me and I can make it work right now, but as I get more tan through the summer, I'm not sure if it's gonna work out well for me. So here is Amalfi. These are so buttery, so smooth. And here's Napoli, very warm, very orange on me. And then here's Amalfi and it looks great there, but that's like a pretty significantly heavy swatch. So I have to build this one up, but I can get it to work. So Amalfi is going to be the one that I think works best for my skin tone. It looks very gray, but luckily it kind of warms up slightly on me. So if you are a true neutral, maybe you lean a little bit more on the cool side. I think that this would be good if we're similar in tone in terms of complexion. Like I said, I can still make it work, but unfortunately, I just feel like there's not a perfect shade match for myself, which is very unfortunate because this texture is so nice. And it's so easy to work with because, again, it doesn't have as much kick up as something like the Milani one does. I really love the tone of the Milani baked bronzer, but it's a little bit harder because you have to be careful that you don't put too much product on at one time. So you can see here, it added just a touch. I definitely say it's a great formula, but unfortunately for myself, the shades I'm gonna have to play with them a little bit more to really decide if it's something that I can continue using. Okay, and then we're gonna revisit this trio from Morphe. We're gonna go in with the powder blush. I am pleasantly surprised by this. It's definitely a bright pink, but you guys, I think that it's actually a really nice wearable shade. It does give you a lot of pigmentation, but luckily it doesn't seem like where I'm placing the brush, it's just staying there. And let's add a little touch of that satiny cream with that same brush that I used earlier. Now this is going on top of powders. Okay, let me use my finger because I feel like it's not, oh, there it is. Okay, that's a lot. Uh-oh. Oh no, it's stuck on the powder. That was my fault. Hold on. Let me blend it with the sponge. Nope. So don't put that on top of a powder. I don't think it's gonna work. Okay, just fixed it a little bit. Hopefully it's not as noticeable. Another Patrick Ta product. This is their brand new lip balm, and I have this in the shade Creme Brulee. This smells so good. It kind of smells like brown sugar boba to me. I guess I could smell creme brulee. I could definitely smell creme brulee because it's a little bit custardy, a little bit milky. It has a non-sticky finish. It's not too thick of a product. It feels very substantial on the lips, and it has some pretty good pigmentation. I would say that this is probably like the highest pigmentation that I would go. I can't speak for the other shades, like the lighter shades, if they have the same amount of pigmentation. Really good high shine. This is the type of lip balm that I would wear if I want to prioritize comfort. I would reach for a lip balm like this so I get that same look, but with that added bonus of extra hydration that a lip gloss won't give me. The Clarins Lip Perfector. This is in the shade 06, and I have really been liking this. I don't like that it has this sponge tip applicator. I wish that it was like a plastic applicator because these do tend to get very messy. I think that this formula feels so nice. I've been really enjoying putting this on top of lip combinations to add a little bit of hydration as well as slight shine to the lips. As you can see, it's going to give you less aggressive of a shine, but it still looks really pretty on the lips. I wanted to end off with the lip color that I want to test with you guys today. So the NYX Lip IVs are not new, but they came out with, I believe, 4 new shades. Some of the shades that I have, I feel like pull a little cooler, like slightly cooler than I want them to. So when I saw that they came out with a more warm leaning nude shade, I had to pick it up. Some people use this as a lip stain mask, but I like to wear it as the lip color and then I let it fade throughout the day. Definitely on the warmer side. I definitely don't think it's going to go with the eye look, but I still want to try it. Definitely more of a warm toned nude. It's a little bit darker, I would say, of a shade, but it doesn't look bad. I'm gonna do a thicker layer here and let it sit for a couple of minutes, and then I'll wipe it away so you guys can see what it looks like as a stain in case that's how you normally like to wear these. Okay, it's been a couple minutes, so let me go ahead and wipe this off. Now keep in mind that if you did wear this as the gloss and then let it fade throughout the day, I'm pretty sure that the stain is going to be a lot more intense than if you first wipe it off, but it did leave a little bit of a stain. I'm just gonna top this with my Clarins Lip Perfector. All right, you guys, this is the finished look. What do you think? I'm not crazy about the eyeshadow. The trios, I can't say indefinitely that I like or dislike them just because I don't know if mine were affected by being damaged. The skin tint balm, I am liking this more and more every time I use it. I am a little weary about the price point though and the amount of product that you get. I'm still figuring out both of these concealers. So far this one's okay. I'm not crazy about it, and I really like the way that this sits on the skin. I like the brightening, but I do wish that I had something that was a perfect skin tone match for myself. Pleasantly surprised by this mascara. Now it is later in the day. It's evening time right now, and I'm not going to be wearing this face of makeup for very much longer, but I will insert a clip right here before I remove my makeup to let you guys see how everything is sitting on the face. If there's anything notable, if there's anything that's really standing out to me, I will let you guys know right here on the screen. I'm going to leave a video right here that YouTube thinks you're going to be interested in based on what you've been watching, and I will see you guys very soon.